Good afternoon, everyone. We are in the third day of Tradewinds, the International Business Conclave of IIFT Delhi. And we are starting with the second summit for the day, which is the National HR Summit, which is organized by the HR club at IIFT Delhi, that is Synergia. The theme for this particular summit is going to be Human Resource Vision in India in the Indian context. We look forward to the insightful discussion with our esteemed panelists and guests. With that, I would like to ask the Synergia team to take this forward. Thank you.
Good afternoon, our esteemed guests and audience members. On behalf of Synergia, the HR Club of IIFT, it gives me great pleasure to welcome you all to the first ever National Summit at IIFT, HR Summit at IIFT. Synergia is the Human Resource Club of IIFT. Synergia, the name itself represents harnessing individual talent to contribute towards a single goal leading to the success and growth of the organization. The objective of the club is to promote human resource management by fostering overall development and understanding of HR. Now, we would like to invite our honorable guest to the stage. Introducing our panel moderator for today's discussion, Dr. Akhil Basrai. He is a gold medalist having completed his PGDM from XLRI. He has to his credit a postgraduate degree in law, an advanced diploma in training and development with a PhD. He is currently pursuing his second PhD and a master's degree in anthropology. With 5 decades of experience, Dr. Basrai has worked in various HR roles with Unilever Kenya and India, and was Executive Director of HR Motorola for Asia Pacific countries. He has also worked with Shell Malaysia as a Director of Human Resources and as Managing Director of Shell People Services Asia. His latest corporate assignment was with IBM India as an Executive Director of Human Resources. Currently, he is the CEO of Akhil Basrai Consulting. Sir, we are grateful and honored to have you as our panel moderator. Next, we have the pleasure of hosting Mr. Musarrat Hussain. He is a seasoned HR professional with more than 3 decades of experience in HR strategy, HR transformation and change management, leadership development, industrial relations, mergers and acquisitions, greenfield and brownfield projects. He has had unique experience of working across cultures from India, US. He has also been awarded the Michael Vanden Bogaert Distinguished Alumni Award by XISS. We thank you, sir, for taking the time out of your busy schedule and joining us here today. Introducing our next panelist, Mr. Yuvraj Srivastava, an HR professional with 23 years of total experience and 5.5 years of experience with the Indian Armed Forces as a commissioned officer, honored with esteemed awards like the world's greatest CHRO award and 100 most influential HR leaders in India, 2017, among many others. He currently leads the group human resource function for the Make My Trip group. His past associations have been with notable brands like Asian Paints, the Oberoi Hotels, and PepsiCo India. He has worked in the HR domain across the spectrum of industries, ranging from manufacturing, supply chain, hospitality, sales, and technology. Thank you, sir, for being here with us today. We are honored to have you on the panel. Our final guest for today, Major Jasdeep Singh, MRICS. He is a senior business leader and a veteran with over 26 years of rich and diversified experience in leadership positions. A very strong and reputed thought leader with the ability to take the business and brands to greater heights. His proactive and professional approach towards customer service and stakeholder engagement has provided him with exceptional understanding of how we can harness the power of leadership to orient the employee's performance. Thank you, sir, for joining us. We are looking forward to learning from your rich industry experience. India is at crossroads today, standing at a critical stage in its history where today's policies and decisions are going to define how its future looks like. To take on the opportunities in the future, India needs to adopt for strategically carved policy suited for the coming years. India at 100 can be achieved only after the key problem areas are focused on and necessary policy transformations are designed to address them. Though there will be an advancement in technology and automation in the next 25 years in India, human resources will still be at the center of the system to drive the development of businesses and the corporate strategies needed to actively address the issues faced in this context. India at 100 cannot be made a reality without effectively harnessing its vast human resources. Today, we have all gathered here to discuss the issues currently persisting in Indian human resource management and how we can address those to achieve the golden dream of India at 100. Now we welcome Dr. Akhil Busrai to come and address the audience. So please.
Good afternoon. My compliments to Synergia for organizing this, and that also on a Sunday. I really admire you people's courage and smiling faces, whether it's plastic smile or real smile, I don't know, but to attend a session on a Sunday afternoon requires a lot of courage. So anyway, thank you very much for inviting us. And this is how many days? 3 days. 3 days, Tedwin. And you have a separate session on HR. So HR seems to be getting importance, and are you all from HR? Anyone from HR? Except Yuvraj. None from HR?
So we're still exploring the domains that we want to get into.
You might go into HR.
So I think IIFT doesn't have a major in HR.
Yeah.
But then they can branch into...
It's a process of really exploring this and perhaps...
So they'll do more foreign trade and marketing, but they might specialize. Now, this is a good point, Yuvraj. The fact is, it doesn't matter whether you are in marketing, production, or foreign trade, or any profession. The future is going to be determined by how well you manage people, irrespective of function you belong to. So the old adage that HR was to be done by HR department, if you have a people issue, go to HR department, is gone, long time back. In IBM, we had about 52,800 employees, but in my HR team, we had only 31 people. But that doesn't mean that 31 people were looking after 52,800. We had 2,265 people managers who were actually line managers, designated as people manager because they had 20 to 25 associates attached to them. And their responsibility was for those 20, 25. My HR team, each of them had about 25 to 30 people manager to assist. See the way it is changing. You don't get involved into, you cannot avoid getting involved into people management, whether you are in finance, marketing, or any other function. Anyway, we have 10 minutes each, so let me be a little careful. So when we talk about India at 100, it's all right, quite futuristic. But what I would like to cover is a grassroots reality of changes we are noticing, especially on account of COVID. A lot of things have changed in managing people. And I've done some research on using, I saw Shell logo here, and I'm very happy to see one of my companies, my career where I spent. And Shell uses something called scenario planning. If any of you are not familiar with scenario planning, I would strongly suggest you read how the process works. Every 4 years, Shell would gather about 200 to 250 very diverse people from different industries. Industry who are futurologists, who are actuarials, financial forecasters, even seismologists who actually look at earthquakes and things like that. And they would put together to say, what if this happens? What will Shell do? And that's very powerful. So I'm not going to the technique of scenario planning, but I've done that, and I'm going to share with you a couple of things that I feel are likely to change in human resource domain in the coming years, in a real life situation. I'm a practicing manager like all of us here, and I don't want to talk anything esoteric or theoretical. One of the most important changes that we'll see, driven by a concept of more for less. COVID has put business under tremendous pressure, uh, loss of market share, loss of revenue, separation of large number of manpower, cutting down activities, closing down operations, closing down physical offices. You name it, and we have gone through that in every industry. Some industries suffered more, some have suffered less, but all have suffered. Some prospered, pharmaceutical, etc., prospered, but for a short while, and now they are going through the challenges. So there is a tremendous pressure on line leaders that recoup the lost market, recoup the revenue, market share. As a result of that, the line managers are under tremendous pressure to be measured by how much of recouping they do. So all this during the COVID period, we saw high level of empathy, people becoming very nice to each other. It was required, and it was a nice thing to happen. But somewhere down the line, we will see the attitude change. When you are put under pressure for what you are measured, that is what you deliver. It's a simple rule of Six Sigma. What is measured is delivered, and what is not measured doesn't exist. And line managers and HR managers or finance managers or foreign trade specialists are all measured on delivery. So with that more for less, now there'll be a time pressure coming up to say that let us get results quick. When it was required, we showed empathy, sympathy, whatever. Now, let's get back to business and let's get down to business, which means some hard decisions will be taken. And as a result of that, some major shifts will happen in the organization itself. Today, all these neat boxes that we have in organization structure, who will do what responsibility lies with this box and how it relates to the other box, are neatly designed. In my opinion, all those boxes will become blurred out of necessity. You won't have a very sharply defined job description. You're only required to do this. You may be required to do something more than what your brief is, job description is, because more for less doesn't mean that you are luxury of only delivering that. Second, it will happen, or it might happen in large number of cases, we're already seeing it happen, that two boxes, and I'm using the word box as a generic definition, two boxes will be required to deliver work of three boxes. But that does not mean they will work extra hours and work till 8 o'clock in the night. It is on volume of work. The two boxes, if they are required to deliver half a box extra each, then they have to have the skill to deliver. And reskilling, and Mr. you're going to cover reskilling also. Reskilling will become real. All these fancy training calendars that we saw in the organization, and all of us have seen that, so many programs will be held, when will there be a rule attend, will actually become obsolete. And it's not very easy for any line manager or HR managers to throw away things which have succeeded for 2 decades, 3 decades. Why will they become obsolete? Because if 2 boxes are required to do work or 3 boxes, you have to immediately plug the gap of skill. And that skill means shop floor level knowledge of what people do. So when you go to industry, whether you are in foreign trade or whether you're in finance or marketing, don't worry about saying, oh, this is my box. You'll be required to handle people, and people working around you or under you will need to be reskilled. Be careful of that. That is your responsibility. And as a now comes the tricky part that why should you have people? When gig comes in, people say, let's give them a project. You come for this work and go away. And gig is nothing new. And in Shell, we had gig, but we didn't call it gig, way back in the early 2000s. Underwater jointer is a very specific, specialized skill where when the pipes get damaged, they have to be repaired underwater. And those people are handful available. Nobody would join a company for permanent, nor would we need them throughout the year. So what we call as a contract work is now being fancily called gig work. Simple as that. And JLL, etc., use it major. So if gig workers are available, and with the new labor code, fixed term contract will be legalized. I don't know when the labor code will come, but it will come. Already there is a tendency to say if you're doing FTC, it's all right. Now this luxury is very good if people use it judiciously. It can be dangerous if people use it as a short-term measure to make more profit and money. So there'll be less investment in training and development, use people like almost paper napkins and move on. Now if that tendency happens, what is your role and my role? We'll have to make sure that that does not happen. People do not become numbers in the payroll, that they are delivered, they are given due respect, due recognition, due training. Now the question comes, should you even train your FTC? Why train them? Any organization which looks at that short-term way will actually lose talent because they will not attract good talent to come. So some people who are very conscious of cost will ask, why train them if they'll go and work for a competition? Some good leaders will ask, if we don't train them, if they stay with us, they'll do more damage. You see the catch-22 now. The picture is very clear. You got to invest in people. And you as young professionals will have to keep an eye on the people who work around you, under you, to make sure, and most important, yourself. You got to keep the knowledge updated. Just getting a degree from any of these schools that we pass out is not enough. I know our books become a four-letter word after we pass out from all this institute, but anybody who looks at not learning continuously will really suffer in terms of becoming professionally obsolete. Now, part of that will get further accentuated with technology coming in. And technology is in two parts. Within the human resource domain, and since Synergia is leading this, I'll talk about human resources. Within human resources, the technology that's coming in is quite mind-boggling. In IBM, we experimented way back in 2003, 2004, predictive attrition. How to predict who might leave. All the algorithm, it's not 100% reliable, but it's a good indication. I was not a believer of that because you can't predict that if people bunk on Mondays and don't give project report on time, or if they are disengaged in meetings, they don't come. These are indications that they are disengaged, and if they are disengaged, they will leave. These are assumptions. But it is not all bunkum. There's a lot of science that goes behind this data. Because when you look at the data of the past X number of years, you'll find a pattern coming in. Now, also the HRIS, the system. So you'll find many young people who are dealing with people sitting in front of this 10 by 10 screen. Because that's the only connection with the world. And that's going to be a dangerous trend. People are not walking the floor, not connecting with humans who they are representing, and they're only doing what is required to be done based on the data and screen that they response time to email is considered as efficient rather than dealing with people and listening to them and talking to them. These are just a glimpse of something that are likely to happen, and this will happen to you and me and not very far off. It will happen now. And if you're not careful about watching the signals, you might actually fall into the trap of just becoming a victim of the circumstances and later on realize that what happened to me? How come I'm slipping behind? It's like walking on a treadmill. If you're not careful, you might actually slip off. But there are opportunities also. And I think the biggest opportunity will happen in two major areas in my hand. in my mind. One, gender diversity will get encouraged. What work from home has taught us is that it broke the myth that women cannot do many things that we thought they could not do. Oh, they can't take late hours, there's mother-in-law syndrome and multiple responsibilities, they cannot travel. These are all myth. Work from home proved one thing, not showed one thing, it proved one thing, that women were as effective, if not more, to deliver on set targets. Now that means that the myth of the bias, hidden bias, however hidden bias it was, has been broken. And we'll find one opportunity that more women will take leadership position. I'm not saying they will be hired, because counting how many women in an organization is a wrong way of looking at representation. So if you take a triangle and put it into 4 parts, you'll find women at the lower end maximum, or at best the second level. How many women are there at the decision-making level or at the top of the pyramid? Very few. In fact, globally, there are only 8.27% of women on the first 100 top 100 Fortune companies. In India, it is 4.17. It's pathetic. Top 100 companies, women representation is only 4%. But this might change, and this is a good news likely to happen in the future. Second good news is that so far, moving into higher leadership positions were based on gray hair or no hair. People who had experience automatically grew up in the organization. And the good news is that people with gray hair or no hair will not have advantage anymore. Is the youngsters will have advantage. And not because times have changed. Requirement has changed. Experience is not enough to take senior leadership position. It's the techno-managerial knowledge. So technology and management skills, when combined together, will determine future leaders. And that's why the good news is that the youngsters who are tech savvy will rise to the higher position much faster. Data shows that in last 25 to 27 years, the leadership positions held at a department head level or at a one level below CEO has fallen down by 11.1 years. That means those who became department head 30 years ago at the age of 41, now same positions being occupied by people who are 31 or 30. So that's good news. What I have tried to attempt here is look at some of the major changes that is likely to come in the industry, not very far from now. And the more awareness we create in the minds of young people, this is a likely scenario, better prepared you are. My colleagues will cover specific topics on technology and other aspects of this change. So with that, I will close my session, my presentation here, and we'll take question answers as we go along after we have heard all the colleagues. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Akil sir, for your wonderful and insightful speech. Next, we would like to welcome Mr. Musarraf Hussain to come and address the audience.
So good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, that's better. I thought everybody is asleep. Afternoon sessions are very deadly. And I don't know, invariably, wherever I go, I land up just after lunch. Post lunch is always very difficult. Anyway, we'll try to keep you awake. I represent an automotive sector. I work in a company called Maruti. How many of you have heard about this company? Raise your hand. Oh, good. So let me talk about the auto sector perspective in the context of next 100 years and how HR or auto sector together is going to play a role. So I don't know how many of you are aware, India is the largest two-wheeler manufacturers in the world. I hope you are aware. India is also the largest, on number one, I can say, in tractors in the world. If you look at commercial vehicle, we are number 7. And if you look at passenger car, we are number 4. So when we are at number 7 in commercial vehicle and number 4 in definitely passenger car, next 25 year, our target should be at least to be number 1 in all these areas. Now, the challenge is that the next 25 years is going to be redefining. But if I look at the current perspective of the auto sector per se, other than these ranks, this auto sector employs 37 million people directly and indirectly. So there are OEMs, and then there are auto component manufacturing companies. Together they employ 37 million. And if I look at the automotive mission plan report, they talk about 65 million in the next 10 years. But if I talk about next 25 years, I think we should be employing around 100 million people in this sector directly or indirectly. If I look at the GDP contribution, 7.5% comes from auto sector. And if I look at the manufacturing GDP, which is close to 15%, 49% comes from this sector only. So if you put all manufacturing together, 49%, almost 50% comes from automotive sector. And if you look at GST collection, more than 15% comes from this sector. So this sector is large, and the next 25 years will be redefining, and that we are sure. Now, looking at some of the mega trends which is happening globally, which is also very important to understand. Climate change and environmental degradation is a big issue, and it being talked about in terms of ESG plan of United Nations, or what we talk about the other plans that other companies are adopting in terms of sustainability and all. If you look at demographic trends, India and some of the countries have a younger population, whereas globally there is an aging population, and we are seeing rapid urbanization which is happening globally. And then when I talk about digital disruption, I mean, the list is endless. I think our colleagues will also talk. But in terms of automotive, just let me tell you that we are talking about connected cars, Internet of Things platforms. We are talking about autonomous. We are talking about electric vehicle. We are talking about Industry 4.0, in which we are already operating. And, other than that, when I talk about, there is a rising middle class that we are seeing. And there is a rising consumer awareness. And the, if you look at the automotive sector per se, there is not only disruption in technologies, but the business model itself is changing. The buying behaviors are changing. The competition itself is changing. So, I mean, gone are the days when we started 40 years back with hardly any competition, and we became a runaway success. And our journey has been in 3 phases. We started as a public sector, then we became a joint venture, and now we are a completely Japanese multinational. But during this journey, the evolution that we saw is phenomenal and tremendous, because with no competition or zero competition to an intense competition where 25 other global players are competing with us. And for us to maintain our market share or market dominance is going to be a very big challenge. And next 25 years is going to be redefining, because this is a sector where things are changing very fast. Unprecedented change are happening. So when we came here, if you look at manpower scenario, I mean, skilled manpower were not available for passenger car. So we had to hire people from tractor companies. We had to hire people from maybe some of the other automotive companies. Tata Motors was already there in commercial, and we had to hire people from industries like BHEL or many other, because we were a public sector. And since the skilling was not available, people had to be sent in thousands to Japan to get aware to how you have to work on the shop floor, Japanese shop floor practices. And it evolved. And then we found that there is no auto component supplier of the global repute or quality. So company had to invest on, creating partners or JVs where we brought in technology and money both. Today, our auto component manufacturing company is a force to reckon with more than 3,000 companies supplying to all the global OEMs. So that's the change which has happened, and I'm very happy to say that the automobile revolution in India started with us, and our aim was to put India on wheels and to fulfill the aspirations of the middle class Indian. So we ventured into small cars, and that is our basically forte, in which we are there for last 40 years. We just celebrated our 40 years, and things have evolved from that time. Today, when we look at the categories of people which are required in supply chain or logistics or quality or what we call design and engineering and all, by and large people are available. But when we talk about disrupting technologies, and when we talk about the different models, is still today, for example, when we were setting up our crash and test facility in Rohtak, which is state of art, you have nobody available in India who is a specialist in passenger car crash facility. You may have for commercial, but not for passenger cars. You have to get people from outside, the technology from outside, the skill has to be brought in. So for example, 2005-6, when we decided to go in for full model design in India, our engineers were sent to Japan and they got trained. And Swift was the first model which we launched globally. And that was a runaway success. But the question is that when we wanted to replicate that within India, we had challenge in terms of readiness of our engineers or people. So we had to get in people from outside to actually get those skills within India. And similarly, today what is happening when we are going electric, or when we are talking about hydrogen technologies, or when we are talking about different kind of technologies that is going to evolve in times to come, many of these skills have to be anticipated. There is nothing, in fact, even in electric vehicle, the kind of training or skills which is required is not available. I mean, if we talk about even CNG vehicles, uh, in case of any problem within NCR or other places, it is fine. But if you go into the hinterland, you are gone. So that kind of base one has to prepare, and that is where the skilling, the manpower, the quality of people, and that is the reason that in our company, what we have been doing is that from very beginning, we have been focusing on building talent rather than buying talent. So last 40 years has been that our hiring more than, earlier it used to be more than 95%, but now 90% of hiring is through the campus route. 10% is only what we hire as a lateral, and that too not beyond 7 years. So you will not hear in key or core areas we are hiring people from outside. So that's not our area. Especially in the core areas, we do not do that. But that has, we try to build talent within our own. So the imperative for keeping the talent pipeline intact is very, very challenging on us, because we are not hiring. But we have a very unique culture. For every critical position in our company, we have two people handling that role. So you have two HR head, two engineering head, two quality head. If you talk about, say, even going deep down into, so there will be two treasury head, there will be two body design head, there will be two, head for, say, homologation or anything, any area you talk about, all critical areas. What we do is that there is one Indian and there is one Japanese. Together, the decision is taken. So that's a paired and shared model that we call. And that's very unique. You will not hear of this kind of model in any industry. But for us, it has worked wonders, basically. So together, they are a formidable force. So that is what actually helps us in bringing the global perspective. And Indians, as Indians, we have been very, very smart enough to, get the knowledge and technology operations from Japan and imbibe it here, to the extent that today, if you talk about our counterparts, Suzuki Motors, 70, almost 65% of their revenue comes from India only. And you can imagine that, I don't know how many of you know that, a car will have more than 20,000 components, and we are able to roll out a car. I mean, I'm not saying full car assembly, but we are able to roll out a car which is called takt time every 12 seconds. And when we started, we were able to make only 20 cars a day. And today, if you look at, we roll out car every 12 seconds. So you can calculate, if we have 3 shifts and if we have 3-4 lines, we roll out close to 6,000 car a day. So the challenge in terms of the upstream and downstream, challenge in terms of, the capability building of the people, the level of automation at which we operate, is all about skilling manpower, right from, getting manpower and to the, kind of talent building that you do and retaining people. The best part is that in our company, the retention is very, very high. At one point of time, we were for many years less than 2% attrition. Today, with the great resignation coming and all, and our what I call infant mortality is for up to 5 years. So whatever attrition we see is up to 5 years. And that is something we are very proud of, because when we are talking about getting people, it's not what we call attract, develop and retain. Today, when we look at the future of work for next 25 years, when we are talking about the workforce, as it's being said, and the workplace itself is changing. The whole model itself is changing. So we have been anticipating. In fact, now labor code and all those changes are coming, and we are talking about fixed term employment and things like that. But in our kind of model, we have outsource, contract, and various other kind of workforce working in the organization apart from full-time workforce. And it is very important that how you access, curate and enrich individual this thing, because in our company also we had many policies which are one size fit all. So no, same uniform, same timing, same food. Now this is not going to work. In times to come, we'll have to create band specific, role specific strategies and policies. So that is one thing which I wanted to say. But another quick point before I hand over to my other panelists, the people, process and technology. When we are talking about this, all this is going to be redefined in times to come. And as far as the skilling part is concerned, because the rapid change of technology which is happening, the kind of skilling which is required, and that is the reason that maximum investment we have done is on capability building. And this is the biggest investment we do. And we have created a corporate kind of an academy, which is a captive university, which caters to not only the capability and skill building of people, but it has got a center of excellence, technology center, dojo centers, which is hands-on skilling, because we follow typical 70-20-10 principle. 70% of your learning will come on the job. But for other areas, we have all these augmented reality kind of thing. We have simulators. We have all kind of things to give hands-on training, because there is a huge difference between knowledge, skill and capability. Huge difference. So that is what we are trying to build in. Vocational is one area where we are working a lot. And this is where a kind of skill pool we are creating. And this skill pool is like for shop floor, have adopted ITIs, we have adopted Polytechnic, we even run school. And all this is all supported and trained not only for us, but for our entire value chain, entire ecosystem. And lastly, I would like to say that because of this change which is happening at a very rapid pace, we'll discuss on that. But some of the hard skill we are talking about in our sector, and especially the implementation of these is very high. So we focus a lot in terms of building up these skills which are not readily available in the be schools or engineering colleges or other areas. So we have to build on that. And similarly, we are building on soft skills, business skills, functional skills. All this becomes part and parcel of our entire process. So rest of it we'll discuss separately. So now I'll end my session here, and I'll request Yuvraj to thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your insightful words. Next, I would like to welcome Major Jasdeep Singh to come and address the audience.
Good evening, everyone. Are we all good? Yeah. Okay. I hope I'm audible. Hmm? Okay. So first of all, I thank you all, for inviting us here. It's a great place. As I was mentioning to a few people that I love being with students, right? Share my viewpoint. Three gentlemen sitting here have vast, rich knowledge on HR. Okay, they are from the HR domain, but my little introduction, you had. I have been representing business from my past 3-4 assignments. Right? I was previously I was MD of G4S Facility Services India Private Limited. It's a US company. We have about 125,000 people in India. Okay, and I work with the JLL ISS, so I've come from a facility management background. I also spent about 5 years with the Indian Army. So when I look at HR, I look at HR as a business leader. What do you expect from HR? Okay, and when I look at you guys, I think you are somewhere, you're not sure whether you would venture into marketing or HR or somewhere else, right? So I know that we had quite a few topics to talk about. So I would talk about data-driven HR strategy, right? When I view it as a business leader. So what are these areas where it adds value, and how do we use it? Okay, so I would say that the most important area is business and strategy. So when we talk about data and when we talk about HR, one is that it looks very simple, and I believe that the leaders sitting here would agree with me. To people and to employees, HR looks very simple. It says that employees को नौकरी देनी है और salary देनी है और फिर निकालना, right? This is how a normal person, a normal employee, a human being would relate to HR. But it's more than that. Okay. Okay. I thought it's my phone, so it's okay. So we need to use that data to design the business strategy. Okay, and end of the day, whosoever joins the company, the job of the business HR partner, the job of the function is to see that whether he's the right fit or she's the right fit, or the person is going to achieve what the company wants to achieve, right? So I would say business and strategy is the first and the foremost thing. The second area I would say employee experience and well-being. We have all seen what happened in COVID, right? So when we talk about employee experience and well-being, so what do you think? What is employee experience? Can anyone tell me what is employee experience? Anyone? You need a mic? Okay, yeah.
Good afternoon, sir. I'm Tejas from the back of 30. So employee experience is basically, I would put it, how does an individual interact with the organization? How well does he understand about the organization, its processes, and how that person fits into the organization?
Thanks. Anyone else? Yeah.
Basically, in simple words, how his personal objectives can be, coupled with the company's objectives. So how well can we relate both of them? So that can be part of the experience.
Okay, great. So both of you are right. I would put it in a very simple this thing that, employee experience, how I feel on the floor, how motivated am I when I come to the office, how inspiring am I to my peer group or the people who are looking at me from anywhere, whether my seniors, my peer group, or people who are working below me, right? Whether I'm able to motivate them, able to inspire them, whether I'm doing the right things, whether I follow the policies. So everything contributes to this factor of how I feel on the floor. When I go back home, if I'm happy going back to work tomorrow morning, that is where I need to be in time and space, right? And then we say we are very happy. So employee experience is nothing else. It is when the employee feels happy at the floor. Okay, I will put it in a simple way. So the data we get, we should use and utilize it to derive and work on the better employee experience and well-being. Okay, now well-being, I would say that, take you back to my assignment in G4S. We had more than 135,000 people operating at various sites in the country doing security and facility services, right? And these many critical services were relying upon us, right, that our people should come to work. So it was not an easy task. How do we ensure that these guys are all fit to come to work every day? How do we ensure their attendance in such COVID times, right? So we were quick to devise an app. We called it Wellbeing app, okay, where you can mark your attendance, where you can say I am fit today, and there are 4 or 5 questions you need to answer them, and it goes to the command center, and command center knows how the person is feeling, and then you have a panic button and all these things. So we have to be very quick to devise all these things for our employees so that they feel safe, and they have to get through to us. They need not call us. They press the panic button, and the command center knows so and so we need to call back, right? So these are few things we should be worrying about. Whereas workforce planning, employee productivity and performances, very important to track, right? So I would say that data which we derive, the HR has to analyze the data and then come out with the analysis that what strategy business should adopt in various lines to fulfill the company objectives. Okay. Few other areas are like retention, employee retention, very important. When I say retention, I mean that attrition should be as low as possible for a CEO, because it is a cost for me, right? So I would look at it that, I don't need any attrition. So what do? We need to nurture the talent. I go back to the previous speaker. He said that, the talent pipeline has to be there. So how will talent pipeline be built? So we need to recognize the talent which is there with us. When we hire from outside, if there is a vacant position, we should look inside our company if somebody can be put there and hire a person at a low grade, right? And promote a person. So that kind of culture is very useful and very good. So data is used in all these things. Then talent management. Then one very important area I would say is LTIF. I don't know whether you have heard about it or not. When we are on production floor or when we are talking about manas and in service industry, LTIF, LTIF, it is lost time injury frequency. The productivity is measured in LTIF. So when we talk about India, a lost time injury frequency, if somebody gets injured and he is not coming for 10 days, that is the loss to business. Okay. So that is called LTIF. There is a specific formula. I want you guys to note about it and go back and find. So the industry works on. So if I want to know that how Maruti is doing, I will ask, what is your LTIF? So anything which is 0.2% or 0.3% and below that is a good LTIF for the industry, right? For the service industry. So I want you guys to read about it. Not much time, so I will just touch upon a few things. Then talent acquisition is very important. Reporting employee health and safety. We talked about well-being, compensation, and the benefits, right? So I would say data-driven HR strategy should have all these pointers what I discussed. We should derive the data, we should then analyze the data, and we should create a strategy to fulfill all these things and KPIs and KRAs of the HR team and even the business leaders have to be around all these. Very briefly, I would also tell you some facts. I know that. Yeah. Can you please stop it, sir? It's my phone. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Sorry. Okay. So when some facts that we talk about the gig economy. What do you think that how much workforce India has? How many gig workers India has in 2020? Anybody? Any guess? 2020 and 2021, we had about 7 million, around 7 million gig workers. By the time we ended 21 and the financial year, 21, 22, can you guess how many we are now post-COVID? How many gig workers in India? 15 million. And as I talk, maybe close to 18 or 19 million, right? And this figure would be by 2025 would be around 60, 70 million. That is the importance of a gig, when we talk about the gig economy. The only thing what as a business leader or what the employee wants from HR is that we should ensure that these guys should be given the benefits what employees get. You can't give all, but you can give them a lot of benefits what employee gets, right? The gig worker. They will be more motivated because they will come, finish their work, go. They will be paid on hourly basis, on day-wise basis, right? So you need to worry about that. Then we also call them contingent and contracted employees, as Dr. Saab mentioned in his address. So these are few things I wanted to touch upon, right? I am available. You guys can take my number from the committee and contact me if I can be of any help to you guys. Okay, I'll be more than happy to assist you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jasdeep sir, for your wise words. Next, I would like to welcome Mr. Yuvraj Srivastava to express his opinion on the theme.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks a lot for inviting us here for this event. Lot has already been spoken by fellow panelists. My first request is that I have 15 minutes. They have given me 10 minutes, but the way they have really used the time generously, I am also taking a bit of liberty of saying that 12 to 15 minutes. Before we start talking about India at 100, what we are talking about is that what is going to happen in 2047. Is that correct? Yes. How many of you are 25 years of age? And how many of you knew that you'll end up in IIFT 25 years back? Did anyone know? Or if you say that you were just born, did your parents know that you will be in IIFT? No. So I think India at 100 or India at 2047 is to a great extent a topic of debate which has been created to keep the intellectual stimulations of all the thought leaders alive so that they can think what will really happen in the future. However, it raises a certain question. If you look at, and I was thinking about this topic, what should really be spoken about. I don't know what will happen in HR after 25 years. Honestly, I don't know. The only thing what I know is that 25 years back, when I started my career in 1997 after leaving army, serving for 5.5 years, I did not know that I'll be here. I knew at that point of time I used to work on the shop floor. There was no mobile phones, and we used to go to the rooms to really make telephone calls. I know that overall connectivity of the roads were not so good. We still used to take from Noida to Greater Noida around 60 minutes to reach to the factory, whereas now it is 25 to 30 minutes. What I mean to say is that country's evolution is dependent on certain factors. And you can't really predict or talk about 10 years even down the line what will happen unless you have those anchors put in place and can really be anchored there to really behave the way they will behave. And if you don't have any control on it, you can't really do anything in terms of prediction. The first thing is, what I feel is that as a country like India, and before I go further, I'll also have questions. So all of you guys, please listen to me very carefully. I can point finger and ask a question. You'll have to answer it. It'll be a lot of quiz around this, right? When you start looking at country like India, which has 1.4 billion population, and scores of states and so many political parties, how many decades have been stable in terms of political system? After 97, once we got independence, the first decade which had a bit of stability in terms of overall government and governance was 1950 to 60. When we got into 70s, we had emergency. When we were in 60s, we had a couple of wars. When we were in 80s, we had assassination of Indira Gandhi and again political turbulence. 90s, Narasimha Rao came along with Manmohan Singh, gave a very 10 years stable political system, which basically saw liberalization and a lot of things happening. After that, the era of governments came, which were coalition governments, 2000 onwards till 2010 or 14. What happened? Things moved, but they did not move the way they should have really moved. After 2014, we are looking at some amount of stability in the overall governance. Good, bad, I don't think that we are here to comment on. But good or bad, whatever it is, it has to be stable and sustained for a period of time to deliver what it wants to deliver. Is that correct? Do you guys know that in 2007, what was the digital penetration in the country? How many people had access to internet? Anyone? Any guess? What percentage? Anybody else?
Less than 1%.
So he's quite close. It was 4%. And what is it now? It's around 45%. Digital penetration, approach or availability of internet connections to 45% people. So that basically makes sense of one data point which should be able to help you what will 2047 will look like. You know how many kilometers of road we have in the country? It's around 6.8 million kilometers, right? There's a different way to really evaluate that how effective are they. One way of evaluating is that paved and unpaved roads in the country, right? If you look at 20-30 years back, paved roads in the country used to be around 35 to 40%. Today, what the number is? It's around 78%. Around 30% roads are still unpaved in the country. Another indicator of economic development and another way to look at what will future look like. Because you can only predict future based on two facts, right? One, if you have a data point of 25 years back and measure the difference what has happened from that point of time till now. And other is if in case some other country or organization has already been through this process. So you can go and look at US. US is a far developed economy. Where were they when they were at 75 years? Where were they when they were 25 years back? Where have they reached now? So these are the two data points can only help you really understand and evaluate what the future will look like. So one, I'm talking about digital. Second, I'm talking about your infrastructure. And first, what I spoke about was political stability in the country, how things really behave. Fourth is how governance happens in the country and what are those areas which we see changing. You know, when Industrial Disputes Act came in the beginning of 19th century, before independence, what was the reason for that? Anybody, any idea? Or labor laws when they came only because at that point of time, there was a concept of master and servant relationship in the industries. Industries were very, very agro-driven, economy-driven, which was driven by the labor class and a master class. And to protect exploitation of people, there were 35 labor laws were introduced. Industrial Disputes Act, Minimum Wages Act, Factories Act, blah, blah, blah. Now where are we? We are talking about labor codes. What does that really mean? Labor codes are trying to amalgamate 32 laws in 4 books, and that will become the way of working in the country when it comes to industries. You know, in companies like Thailand, Singapore, or even to UAE, how big is the labor law? Anyone? How many pages? There are 15 to 20 pages. To the best of my understanding, there is a one book which basically governs all the employment laws in these countries. If we go to that stage, this will again define how the governance will happen. We will move from that stage to that stage. Now, what are the indicators for that? Indicators are, you will have people who will come through the new education policy. Do we know what the new education policy is? Anyone, any idea? In 2020, government introduced a new education policy. 2022-23, it was supposed to be put in motion. It has still not come into picture, but I think it makes things very different. The 2047 workforce would have gone through new education policy. And new education policy says 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, there's nothing called stream. We came from a math, science, and commerce. People would be free to choose what courses they want to do. Geography, you are most welcome to do it. If you want to take, computer science along with something like geology, free to do it. Education policy will completely change, and this will have its reflection on 2047 when we are talking about. So, if you look at these factors, if these factors continuously behave the way they are expected to behave, it will have an impact. If they don't behave, they don't behave because in case COVID happens, or the government changes, or the way governance in the country happens, then it will again get sluggish. As I said, that in 75 years in the country, we have seen only 30 to 40 years of a good governance and good way of delivery system. And still, because despite of that, we have reached to a stage where we are. But will this continue in the next 25 years is something what we need to still watch out for. You know what is the literacy rate in the country right now? Anyone? What is the literacy rate? Something in the. And how much was it when we got independent in 47? 15 to 20%, and today it is around. In urban areas, it is 88%. Rural area, it is 73%. But there are countries which has literacy rate which is beyond 90. US and all, Japan, it has 93, 96% of the literacy rate. So 2047 will see all these forces taking the country to a very different direction. And HR will have to really work with these policies, with a different set of people to create some impact. Few things which I can clearly say will not happen are these. It will not be a hybrid workplace. Everyone, all of you must be thinking that you'll come out of the college and get into a hybrid workplace where the work from home will happen. It will not happen. Country will go back to full-time working. Why? Because if you are a developing economy, if you are a developing country, you can't have and you can't afford luxury of laxity. You are still competing with the best in the world. And to do that, you have to be on your feet. I'm sure many of you would have really experienced European countries, US and all. Work culture is very different. People work 9 to 5, 9 to 6, weekends are for them. They do it because the economy does not go beyond certain percentage. It doesn't have that sort of a headroom to grow. Things are very, very stable. But the country like India, which has a GDP growth of 6 to 7% and aspires to really take together 1.4 billion people, will not be able to let anybody relax for next 25 years. It has to be on and on and on and on, working in the market, competitive market, fighting with the international workforce, and ensure that everybody does not only deliver 9 hours, but delivers beyond that to be a successful professional. That's how the workforce will change. That's how the work will change. So that will not change, that will become a hybrid. It will not become a hybrid. In case we are going back to the work, it will continue to be very competitive and a competition will drive this. Second change, what I also still feel will not happen is that focus from diversity and inclusion will not go away. Today we have 50% population in the country which is women. Representation in the industries, anyone, any guess? Workforce representation of 18 to 20%. So there is a wide gap. Can you see this? And if there's a wide gap, the focus on diversity and inclusion and bringing women to the workplace will continue for next 25 years, and we'll have to really work with everything together to ensure that this reaches to the next level and they start contributing. Last point what I wanted to talk about is all this will really only work in case our education system improves, because workforce is a replica or the reflection of how the education has happened. In India, we have around 4,500 engineering colleges, 5,000 almost. And you know how many are private? 85% of the engineering colleges are private. And we know how private colleges behave and work. Unless the whole education system, which gets governed by the new education policy, or also a lot of commitment by everyone who's involved in increasing the education level, this will not reach to a stage wherein we can go to the developed economies state in next 25 years. I'm clearly relating with what I would have really seen 25 years back, and where are we? Things have changed drastically, but still we are far, far behind in what global economies are, or the best of the worlds are. And HR will have to continue to work in these domains and ensure that organizations deliver. But definitely will continue to run, because it's a marathon, and when it comes to a marathon, you can't really let your guard down. You can't slow down. You have to continue to maintain a certain pace. The next 25 years, based on the good governance, a lot of mileage being taken from the infrastructure development, a lot of mileage being taken with the help of digital penetration, a lot of mileage being taken with the help of good education policies, a lot of mileage being taken out of new policies like labor code and all coming. I think we'll be far, far better than where we are. And HR will continue to play an important role. But I am not very sure that will this really completely transform the country. No, we'll have to take another 25 years to reach to the stage wherein today countries like Japan or US or many of the European countries will be. So that's what my thoughts are. Maybe we'll come back with some more questions and answer in the responses. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for the wonderful speech. We would like Dr. Busrai to continue with the panel discussion.
How much time do we have?
So,
What time do we close?
15 minutes.
So we have time till 4.
Sorry?
We have time till 4.
So we have time.
Sir, we started, so we can go until 4.
Negotiation.
I think we have good half an hour.
Okay, let's agree. 3:30 is okay with you?
Yes.
20 minutes from now?
Yes.
All of you? Or 1 hour, 20 minutes? Okay, 20 minutes. What we'll do is, because a very interesting question for you here. Let me start. You mentioned something very interesting, that work from home will die. Why do you think so? And what I would suggest, keep the answers brief, but let's involve each other. So, as I said, work from home is a luxury. And India, as an economy, still has huge contribution by the sectors which are not possible to be done based on a work from home. Consulting can be done from home, right? Knowledge industries can be done from work from home. Ask Mr. Dutt, can he run his factories? He can't really run it. If I say that my trip fellows should not really go and meet people, it's not possible. All the conglomerates, FMCGs and all have feet on the street. And it's a competitive market. If you will not go to the market, I'll go to the market. If I go to the market, I'll grab your market share. If I grab your market share, next day you will also pull your people to get on the market. So unless economy reaches to a stage where it can have a luxury of really letting people work, in country like India, work from home will have to be really modern. So the word you use is luxury. Do you agree with that?
My views are little different here. When I plan, because when COVID came, as an MD, it was an awful time delivering the P&L. Now when I plan, I keep it in mind that it may happen again and I have to plan. I cannot afford to get everybody to office if it happens. So I would say that yes, I agree with him that there are few segments, industry segments, where you cannot afford work from home. Can you wonder that facility management and a security company can work from home? No, you can't. So there is a mix of it, but there are functions. There are functions which can operate from home. Why do you want to get them to office? Why do you want to spend on their?
So you feel they will continue to work from home?
I feel they will get back now to normal, but I want to reduce my cost. I want to be profitable. The market is very competitive, so I will say that 10% of my workforce, these people, if they don't come to office, they can continue working from home. And one view. I think many companies, when you talk about IBM, you know what culture IBM has. I know people working from past 25 years, they are working from home. I have worked with Barclays, I have worked with IBM. I was the account director for the IBM and Concentrix account for 4 years through JLL. So I think it is something which we should not be misusing. So where HR should focus is how
The balance.
productivity should be there. We should focus on
So,
productivity.
sir, is this only a hype about this poster boy industry like knowledge industry, right?
See, in my view, see, work from home existed earlier for a certain segment. But what pandemic did is it was like an eye opener for many industry and even for manufacturing. When we were totally closed, we realized that of course manufacturing cannot happen. But then we segregated our areas into manufacturing and non-manufacturing. So and in non-manufacturing also we realized that certain areas, I mean, there is no necessity of them for coming to office. They can still operate from home and can deliver. But necessarily support functions have to be there because if manufacturing is running, then your other guys have to be there to support them. So I think what is happening is that many industries have actually started working in a hybrid mode. But another challenge which I find it very realistic, when people started working from home, there was a kind of a social isolation many people started feeling. And the joy of working in group, team, is something which cannot be missed out because people actually wanted to come back to office. And this is something which is very important because we are a social animal actually. We cannot work in isolation. I understand in IT industry, somebody is programming, coding, and doing individual job might be possible, but when you are working in team or groups, perhaps this kind of may not work.
You
But
feel
I-
that people want to come back to work?
yeah, I think many industries, people are actually sick and tired of working from home. And on a lighter side, people actually don't want to sit at home. They are better off in office.
So I think there's a need for balance.
I think there's a balance. So the
Without-
data you guys actually shows, the latest data, this is what month are we in? Very October. This is the August data. That 67% of 1,500 people who were interviewed want to go back to work. Physical work. Physical work. And the social interaction is not the reason. 82% of women interviewed in that 1,500 wanted to go back, not go back to work. So there's a dichotomy there. Now, this is where diversity and gender equality, etc., will all get affected. Will organizations take a call to say, look, if men can work from home or want to go back to physical work, why women are hesitant? And the answer was given by you, Yuvraj, that at the end of the day, measure what you said, measure the output, not the hours worked. This debate will continue. My personal view is that work from home will taper off. All these companies, and I can't take names of forum like this, who started will work permanently from home. They do that in 3 months' time. And the same company has announced last Monday that if you do not come to work for 4 days in a week, they'll ask you to separate. So, what is your general view? How many of you want to work from home? Raise your hand. Only 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The rest all want to go back to work.
Yeah, because I don't think, get a chance to go out of the college quite often, right?
No, I mean, I'm taking a hypothetical situation that if you have to work from home or work from a physical office, so majority of you want to go back to work. Why? Will not cover that. But the reality is that today we are discussing trends that are changing. There's a very nice question here from must be from Narendra Modi because it's only. There's a huge competition for retaining time. Who asked this question? That's a good paper.
So can you read out the question?
I think I'm just enjoying ourselves a little bit. There is a huge competition for retaining talented employees for building India and Africa. We need to support startups because they cannot afford luxury of retention bonuses and retirement plans and insurance. Major, what do you think? Startups should be given separate treatment?
I would say that, every company is very different. When you start,
Startup,
so startup should not be given a very,
so they should bear all the costs?
I think it's not fully, I would not agree on either, right? Because I founded a company and I realized, I realized that time that, cost is an issue. I cannot, to operate at that scale where JLL, CBREs of the world and Cushman & Wakefield operates, or ISS operates, or G4S operates. To operate at that scale, I need a lot of money. I need good pockets, right? So, how would promoter put that kind of money? They can't. So, what would you do? So then it comes, gig workforce, contractual employees, right? So when you begin with that. But that was my point when I said that, we have to sit and worry about, can we give Mediclaim or can we give these benefits to these gig workers, what we give to our employees? Can we give them money for transport? Say, you get this salary and you get 4,000 rupees per month.
Why? Why do that?
To retain?
No, why?
Company will perform. I want my company to be productive.
You all these special bonuses and appeasement. What do you think?
The gig basically means that gigs are independent. Right? Gigs are not attached with any organization, and now Labor Code is trying to cover that, wherein everybody who's a gig worker will have some social security benefits. Right? In India, I think it is still the problem is that people want to get into an organization that they have social security. I am personally in favor, give them a good money, let them do whatever they want to do. So, the idea is we want to eat our cake and have it too.
So my point is he wants to give good money to them. I want to give them same money, what he wants to give them. But I would, the benefit which I am giving will I'll end up giving that money to that person. But he knows that company cares for me. Exactly.
What do you think?
Exactly. It has to be a package.
For a startup, the basic question was focus on HR and all. For a startup, what happens is that at the very beginning, the focus is on the strategy, focus is on getting investor or angel investor or short-term or long-term strategy. HR doesn't figure it. But let me tell you, HR handholding or HR, will play a very, very big role because in terms of getting the right kind of talent and building them is very important because see, startups are in a very nascent state and for a gig worker to come and operate may not be that much visible because it's all about passion. 4 people coming together, 5 people coming together and setting up all this with a vision. And it requires a lot of dedication and they don't have time for HR. So a lot of people these days I have seen.
So they should exploit HR.
No, not exploit HR, but HR hand-holding is required here.
So gig workers should be given treatment or not what
So
measures?
gig workers, see, I'll tell you, the US model has not come to India as yet. What I have heard, I don't know really, but gigs are paid more than the fixed term employees. Right?
Actually, the plumber gets
Yeah,
$500.
and they work for 6 months and enjoy for 6 months. But in India, where the kind of wages people are drawing and there is no social security, some sort of support for gig, because gig is still a thin line between gig and outsource. Or
So you feel the labor code is going the wrong way?
no, I'm not saying it's going the
Well,
wrong
is
way.
it security to gig folks?
No,
I
it's
think
a
that
small
everything,
step.
every,
It's a small step in that direction. It's
Yes,
you,
yes.
because gig in India has not evolved the way it has
so
evolved.
you feel time.
Time will-
So what Masarat is saying is right, you can't jump from one side of the continuum to the other side immediately. There has to be a transition from one side to the other side. The government is trying to bring it the balance, wherein the culture of gig workforce also given some benefits are taken care of. There will be a stage in 2047 when gigs will not even really come and work at your place. You'll say, my God, if you want to give me bigger money than others, then only I come. But just quickly on this issue, see, India is an economy where you have different type of startups. If you have different type of startups which are deep pocket, funded, at the same time bootstrap, there are also workforce available, which is available at every cost point. So it's not a problem when you can't get people to work for you. If you are a bootstrap startup and you feel that you have lack of financial and funds, then you assume that you will hire people from IFT and they'll work for them. Perhaps they will not. They'll have to really look at some other people, IFT caliber, maybe in tier 3 institutes, and pick up people and groom them. So I think everybody has different sort of resources, everybody has different sort of pockets, and all type of startups can survive as long as they know their limitations and also extension.
Share my view, and we handle the gig by different name. Gig workers, like you said, Musarrat, are more expensive than regular employees. And they should be. Because at the end of the day, to take care of
Yes,
the
it is.
total benefits and money that they get must compensate for lack of continuity of income. So they are more expensive. The idea is to be very wise in choosing who to employ for gig. Specialized skill. If you need a
Knowledge
regular
worker.
skill, knowledge worker, when we get our house painted, that is gig working. We don't hire a painter for a whole year, or even in a plant or offices. So that gig worker, startups have one advantage. They may not give you retirement benefit or fancy allowances, etc., but they may play with equity. You take so much share, and if you do well, and the company does well, you benefit. So there is a risk people take, and big engagement can happen by taking equity. Let's move from that question to Pallavi Bhakti's question. A technology advancement, including AI, ML automation, are changing the work dynamics in each and every industry. So will it impact human resources and its significance on business? Very good question. Sir, very brief.
Okay, I feel that yes, there will be an example. So when technology is there, for example, I belong to a corporate real estate sector. I want to employ 20,000 people and go mobilize few sites in a year. If automation is not there, so where automation helps me is that I give the smartphones and iPads equipped with all the information to my recruiting team. They go on ground, they hire the people, and the data is coming to the command center. I don't have to fill 20,000 forms, right? Earlier,
That is your
yes.
it increases work for the employee.
No, earlier I used to hire people to do the documentation separately and make them sit in the back office and complete all the documentation. Now my recruiter does that while he's interacting, and the error, for example, UN to be linked with PAN and all that. So we assess it on ground, and we don't recruit wrong people. The app will not move to the next step if all the two are not fulfilled.
So you guys let me take a twist of this. Using technology like giving them smartphone and log in when you want and learn, work from home, work from anywhere, anytime. All this doesn't mean that the organization is benefiting by use of technology at the cost of employee happiness. Somebody mentioned well-being, and you did.
Cost of employees?
Happiness and well-being. And you're 24/7 slave to your smartphone, and the company saying that give me this report by tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock, and you get a message at 11 o'clock in the night.
So I think that in India we are still trying to develop a culture of how to balance between work from home and work from office, right? It's a question of mindset. And what I personally believe, there are people who are supposed to be delivering work, team members, and there are people who are supposed to be getting the work done, managers. Managers need to develop more trust on the people, and people who are out on the other side need to be more accountable. And this equation of trust is equal to accountability has not reached to a state wherein you can get away by these discussions. Tomorrow you reach to a state wherein if I believe that Jagmeet is working at home, has not gone to drop his wife to airport, then it's a trust. I know that he'll deliver. At the same time, Jagmeet also knows that while I'm at home, I need to deliver when I'm asked. This equation gets sorted. These conversations around this will go up. That's what I
Very, you said it very well. What do you think in manufacturing sector will this catch on?
See, technology in human resource is what we call ease of doing business. It's same as that ease of doing work. Let me tell you, 35 years back, I have seen, in office using attendance register. We have to sign register.
Punch cards.
And then there used to be, for workers, there used to be a token system and all those. I've seen those. Today, and thanks to pandemic also, today it's seamless. Actually, they simply walk in and everything is pre-recorded. So when it comes to talent acquisition, when it comes to talent management, when it comes to skilling, upskilling, technology plays a very big role. For example, in our paint shop, we used to train people by wasting paint.
So let me bring you back to the focus. Is technology, use of technology a disadvantage to employees?
No, it's an absolute.
Because enjoy being working late night.
No. See,
They enjoy being exploited.
Akhil, what I'll say is just that technology is not going to impact people, but people have to be far more skillful.
Yes.
And it said in army that machine is important, but man behind the machine is also equally important, rather more important. So people who are going to handle data, technology need to be far more skillful. If they are average, they'll not.
No,
Outvoted in this.
I will agree, but the point is whether you want to bother your employees all the time, and technology is there, so you can reach out to them at 11 p.m. at night. So I would say, as a leader, I set the expectations, I set the rules. That if these are not these three things, you will not disturb anyone, not send an email, or not a phone call or a message. It can wait till Monday.
But that's army rule.
No, it's not. If I am implementing few rules to make my team motivated and the work is not
Okay, now
suffering, expectation management.
provoking.
No,
But the idea is that, see, I think just 30 seconds. And I am very open about this area. How many employees can say that they come in the office at 9 o'clock and leave at 6 o'clock, they don't open Amazon? How many of them say that they don't call their mother and girlfriends and boyfriends? How many people don't take care of things which are very personal to them? So see, the life has moved wherein work and life is pretty seamless, integrated. So if you can use the time of the office where you're getting paid, might as well take a couple of calls in the
That's the
evening.
approach that at the end of the day, you set expectation, what you are going to deliver, and this will not happen to your generation of people in the industry. You'll be given clear goals, you must achieve this, period. Now, whether you work 6 hours and watch cricket, World Cup cricket, that's your call. You want to work till 2 in the morning, welcome to the world of reality. And technology, like both of you mentioned, will help that. In fact, it will not exploit people like our provoking this season without success much, but it will actually facilitate more work and life balance. I did not really work on 96 when I wanted to watch a World Cup match in the afternoon. But I must finish. That doesn't give a license not to finish work. Organization priority always overtakes individual priority. In the interest of time, let me close this. Let me ask each one of you, in less than 5 words, what is the advice you give to how to handle the future? Less than 5 words.
I will finish in three. Be positive, be flexible, and always have humility.
Nice.
Positivity, positivity, flexibility, humility. Three things. Okay? And I'm serious. Positivity, flexibility, and humility.
What's the second one?
Positivity, flexibility, and humility.
Flexibility.
Flexibility and humility. Three things.
I agree.
Nothing else.
What's your view, sir? What is the question? Let's go to. No, in less than 5 words, what advice you have for us how to handle the future? Handle your current better. Don't worry for the future. Just handle current. Handle current for the very front of you.
This may
Don't
be
think
a
much.
very simplistic way of putting it, but it's reality. You don't handle your current better, don't worry about making future better. I think very wise way. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'll share something here.
5 words.
Yeah, but I'll keep it short.
Already over.
Invest in knowledge. Don't think information is something that you are flooded with. So information doesn't mean knowledge. So please invest in knowledge. Second thing is that
Keep up with it.
you have 15,000 people on your social network. That doesn't mean you have relationship.
Correct.
So build relationship,
Very good
build
point.
your
So
knowledge,
build knowledge, build relationship.
and create value for yourself.
Right.
Believe in value systems.
Okay. I apologize. I can't take all the questions, but there
Very
are
interesting question. If you allow, ma'am, like to take this paper and pass it on to my colleagues and we mull it over.
Sure. Thank you very much for having us over. Any last comments? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
That was a very insightful discussion, and I'm sure all the students present here today have greatly learned from the rich experience of all our esteemed guests. Now, the much awaited moment is here. After months in making, involving the hard work of the entire team of Synergia and the guidance from our esteemed faculty members, we are proudly presenting Manthan, the first ever edition of the annual HR magazine of IIFT Delhi. We conducted an article writing competition. We received overwhelming response from the students across B schools. Manthan presents a few best articles received in the competition. We request the guests to unveil the magazine.
You're at 6'3". Thank you.
Thank you.
We received the opportunity to enhance our knowledge by learning about the opportunities in the future, such as gender diversity, experiences, and advancements such as techno-managerial knowledge. Further, we understood about the paid and shared model at Maruti Suzuki. Further, we learned about the LTIP as well as the innovation and evolution in country through digital infrastructure and political and economical aspects. I believe that these learnings would further help us in understanding the problems and potential solutions that will light the path orienting towards the Indian workforce to achieve the golden dream of India at 100. Before we mark the end of this event, the team of Synergia would like to extend a heartfelt gratitude to all the panel members through a token of appreciation. Thank you so much for joining us today as we look forward to more such events. We would like our guests to proceed towards the Sanjeevis for aspirations. Sanjeev.